Hello and welcome to the Knock On KCLR and Scoreline.ie's weekly rugby podcast. Hello, Paddy Brown and Tom Crotty. How are you getting on?
Afternoon, Stephen.
All good. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you. It's been a few weeks since we recorded, but it has been quite on the local front in a few different ways. We've been kept going, I suppose, with the international chat, the Six Nations squad, the interprovincials, the Champions Cup and all that sort of stuff as well. But Tom, you had a little cup final win in the middle of all that as well. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Yep.
Happy?
Absolutely delighted. I'll give a little quick chat on that when we're working. So who wants to go first?
Yeah,
who's going first?
We're without James Blanchfield from Kilkenny this weekend. Or for this show, but the Kilkenny had a good win over De La Salle Palmerston last week, and they're up against a tie this weekend. It's a nice little tasty local one, so that should be a good game. We'll catch up with James, of course, next week when he's back on the podcast. Whoever wants to go first, Paddy or Tom, shout.
Right, Tom.
I don't mind. Want to go, Paddy? I'm trying to get me a few bits ready here.
So okay. I'll fire ahead. So as you said,
having one of them days, so I'm nearly ready.
Okay, that's all right. Yeah, well, I'll do it off. So, Tom or Stephen and Tom, and just to say, as you pointed out there, we've had a relatively quiet few weeks. There was a very long break in the leagues this year. I think it was longer than usual. Carlow had a cup final, as you mentioned there a minute ago, in the middle of it, so that helped them to get over the break. But we had 5 weeks, I think, of a break, and we were probably a little bit stale last Sunday. But we'll see how it works next weekend. So yeah, we'll talk about the men's first of all. After that break, they were away to Bective, and in the home fixture was our first game of the year. We got a long-range penalty in the last second of injury time to beat them by 2 points, and it was a very hard one for Bective to take down in Tullow because they had very big plans, obviously, for this year, and it being their first match. So we were, as you said there earlier, Stephen, expecting revenge, or Bective to be looking for revenge, and surely they were. And it was a funny game, a very strange game. We're still missing a few guys, and I suppose the one we missed most on last Sunday was Saturday was a kicker. So Adam Johnson will be out with a shoulder, I think, until towards the end of February. So he's a big loss, and it was he who kicked that long range penalty to pip Bective at the post the last day. So we tried a range of kickers last Sunday or Saturday, including Sean O'Brien, and he did kick one from the sideline, a conversion, but it was a lot of 3 different kickers missed a number of kickable penalties. Not saying we would have won it, but we didn't even get a bonus point, which was disappointing. We certainly would have felt we at least deserved that if we got some of those kicks, you know. So it was a strange game. There was no scores until about halfway through the first half, and then Tullow relaxed a little bit or let in some soft tries, and both sides of half-time Bective scored 4 tries. I suppose a bit fortunately for us, they only converted one of them, but you know, I'd say our defence wasn't at its very best, I'd say, for 2 of those tries at any rate. We did come back strong towards the end, but you know, and that I suppose was a good sign. And you know, after conceding 4 tries and being 22-0 down, it would have been quite easy for the heads to go down. But in fairness, they didn't, and we fought back and got back to 22-14, 2 converted tries. And as I said there a few minutes ago, we missed a couple of kickable penalties in the last 5 or 10 minutes, which would at least got us a bonus point, and maybe would have put us within a shout of going for a late try to steal it. But it would have been probably a bit of a steal. Certainly the Bective deserved their win on the day, and probably more so would have deserved it if they had got their conversions, which were reasonably kickable too. So that was the story of the day. We are still missing a few of our backs with a very inexperienced back line out. The forwards were usual, although Frank Murphy was back, but we with a good experienced forward pack. So we were missing about 4 of our sort of regular starting backs, and some of those will be back shortly. But as I said, Adam Johnson won't be back for another month at least. ACA, of course, hopefully will be back for that as well, and we'll be targeting the cup. And I know we'll get to talk about the cup later on, but we will be involved in the cup towards the end of February. So we'd hope that those key players back for then. Our seconds were very well beaten, 66-7, hammering really, and it was quite disappointing because the seconds have had a few very good wins in the few previous matches before Christmas, but Bective had a very, very strong seconds team out, so we were well beaten there. On the other front, the women have been flying of recent months, and one of the two main rivals they would have would be Barnhall and Tullamore. And Tullamore, the fixture up there earlier in the season wasn't played because I think of an unplayable pitch. So they came down and both teams agreed that this match would count for the two games. So it was a potential 10-pointer. And Tullow played out of their skin. There was the women's section is really going well at the moment. I think there are 27 players togged out on the line and a few more that could be there as well. So and a very young team, apart from a few stalwarts, a very, very young team. So they actually got a bonus point win over Tullamore, 29-5, which puts them 10 points ahead of the second place team, which is Barnhall. And the Barnhall have 2 games in hand, so it could be an interesting finish to the league, but they are in flying form at the moment, and it's great to see it. On the underage front, as you said, Stephen, we weren't on air for the last few weeks, but the week before last, we had a great weekend for our youth, winning 3 Southeast competitions, 2 leagues and a plate, and at the expense of Gordy in all 3, which was an unpleasant coincidence for them. Our under-13s won 38-12, our under-14s won 19-12, both in cup final, Southeast Cup finals, and the under-16s won the plate final, also against Gordy on a scoreline of 27-7. Last weekend, we had a few friendlies and league matches, Leinster League matches, and we didn't fare as well as we had been faring. The under-14 boys lost 14-15 to Athy. The 15 boys had a very good win, 52-14 over Athy, and that was in the Leinster League. And those 2 teams have been playing each other all up along, and it's usually quite competitive. But that was a great win for Tullow. The under-16 boys lost 13-15 to New Ross, and the under-18 boys lost away to Naas 10-17. And as Tom will know, on the Rhinos side, the under-14s drew with Tullamore 22-all, and the under-16s lost to Gorey 5-14. And I think the 18s, their match was deferred because of I think the pitch was unplayable. So it wasn't as good a weekend as the youths have been having up to that point, but hopefully they'll get back on the horse. There's a fairly full programme in the coming weekend. So that was it. A bit of a mixed bag for Tullow overall last weekend, and the previous weekend a very good weekend for our youths. So we, from the first point of view on the league situation, we have 4 matches left. The next 2 are both home matches against teams who both beat us very narrowly in the away fixtures. That's Wicklow next week and Ashbourne the following week. You'd like to think, with home advantage in those 2 matches, that we should have a fair chance, and we should have if we had everybody. But I'd be more afraid of Wicklow because of the lads we're missing. Ashbourne were badly beaten last week, so I think we probably have a better chance against Ashbourne. But anyway, there are 2 matches that we have a chance of winning and need to win, I suppose, if we want to stay up in the top half of the league. After that, then, we have a couple of tough ones. We're away to Sea Point and to Monkstown in our 2 final matches, and they will be tough matches. Sea Point are top of the league there at the moment. So, it's all happening. We have a busy day this weekend, and unfortunately, our first match is clashing with the Leinster match. And there'll be divided loyalties there, but there'll be lads in and out of the clubhouse, and I'll keep an eye on both matches. But anyway, that's the way it is. I suppose it's as they say, a first world problem, not a bad problem to have. But it'll be a busy day in Tullow Rugby Club on Saturday. So Stephen, that's about it for now, and we can comment later on other aspects, whether it's the Towns Cup or whether it's the the Heineken Cup. But anyway, that's the Tullow scenario.
Good stuff. Thanks for that update, Paddy. Yeah, a lot of catching up to do after the Christmas, of course. Lots of bits and pieces going on and everything as well. And sure, we're nearly over halfway through January already. It's mad. Like, it only seems like a few weeks ago the podcast started again for the new season. Tom, Carlow wise, nice little piece of silverware already in the cabinet anyway, and something to work off as well.
Yeah. I suppose I'll just give a shout to the whole weekend, because we had what we called which was a great idea. It was a festival of rugby, coming off the back of the North Midlands did it last season in Athy, and we did a similar one this weekend where we had the final of the J1 Southeast, the J2 Southeast, and the under 18 Southeast final, and we had the under 18 plate final on the Friday night. I have to say thanks to Carlow SETU for giving us the pitch on the Friday night for the under 18 plate game. It was a fantastic game of rugby between Kilkenny and Gorey, and Gorey, I think we're going in as favourites, but James will be delighted. He was there on the night. Kilkenny came out and were just absolutely dogged from the start to the finish, and they pulled away in the second half. The score probably didn't justify the match, but Kilkenny came out winners in that one. Then we had 3 games in Carlow on the Saturday. Started off with the under 18 final between Wicklow and Wexford, cracking game. Wicklow came out on top on that one. Then we had the J2 final, senior final between Wexford and New Ross, with another great game and well supported too. And that the winner, Wexford, came out on top of that. And then we had our own game. We faced Enniscorthy J1s. We were supposed to play them before, so the week before, but it had been postponed. But we had one or two players actually. One that was gone on holiday, so and now the guy got sick in the meantime from the starting team that was supposed to have played. So we had 2 brand new caps to the J1 team, Tom Atkinson and Anthony Kelly. Both of them played very well. Tom, in particular, a young second row just out of Kilkenny College, had a superb game, stepping up to the mark in the second row. We took it to Enniscorthy from the start. I literally didn't let them play. I haven't seen the lads come out like that in a long time. They literally blew them away, completely blew them off the park from the first whistle. Enniscorthy really didn't get a look in, which was surprising, because they would have had 5 maybe to 7 players that would have played on their AIL team, on and off on their AIL team. So we were prepared for a tight game, and it just, in fairness to the lads, they didn't let Enniscorthy into the game at all. I had 2 phenomenal performances on the day from Johnny Murphy and Dave McDermott, who's both of them lost their grandfather earlier in the week, and we were unsure if they were going to be available. But the 2 boys came out and were absolutely outstanding. Look, it was kind of, you couldn't really judge the score. Kind of didn't really justify the game. It was actually a really tough game at times. But as I said, the lads played a phenomenal, just absolutely out of their skin. Their defense was awesome, and their attack just worked. Everything just went on the day. I think we were so hungry it's been a long time since we've had senior silverware. So it ended up 38-7 in the final score, and hats off to them all. Everyone in the club was delighted, and good night was had by all afterwards. And we moved on to last weekend. Tough trip up to Boyne. The J1s and J2s. J2s played first. I'm afraid didn't get the result in the end. They lost by just a couple of points a try literally in the last minute of the game. Kind of lost it for them. But we've had a lot of chopping and changing with the seconds over the year. But we've a lot of new players in, a lot of lads training, and we're probably a bit to our detriment that we've been trying to give everybody games and rotate players, and probably the team hasn't been as settled as it should be at this stage. But look, we'll have to regroup now with them and look towards the cup and building towards the cup over the next couple of weeks. They'll play Longford now at the weekend, so hopefully try and get back into winning ways against Longford. Again, like a lot of young lads on the team and a lot of young guys developing, so hopefully well worth having a look at these players, and anyone's around for the game on Sunday, come and have a look at the seconds first, because there's a lot of young talent around. Our first then, it's never an easy trip to Boyne. We've never had a result kind of up there, and we kind of felt that even though Boyne have had a couple of results against them of late, we still felt that it was going to be a really, really tough game. We started off really well with a Scott Neal try. Ben converted it, and it was 10-0 straight away. Then we let them back in, just a slip of concentration more. It was more from our mistakes. Their backline, the couple really decent backs, and we kind of gave away a few silly mistakes, and they took advantage of that, and they got back in for a try, which they converted, and then we had a penalty, and it was 10-7. Then they got a penalty. It was 10-all. But then we kind of regrouped again. We knew we got Evan Gordon went over for another try. Then they kind of came back in and got another try, and then we just kind of put the foot to. We had a good regroup at half time, saying, look, we knew, being honest, looking at the two teams, we knew we had the better of them, and we turned around then in the second half, probably be a little bit more accurate than we were first. As I said, like, it was their scores all came off our mistakes more so than anything else, and tries in the second half then came from Evan Gordon. Evan Gordon got a second try. Jonathan Crosley and Paddy Rogers all scored in the second half. Some phenomenal performances out on the pitch at the weekend. I have to say, Evan Gordon just is starting to play really, really well. Probably a bit forgotten at times. I have to give him a mention, because he just really, in the last couple of games, has started to come into his own, and his darts throwing the ball in has been superb. And Scott Neal came in. He was on the bench. Scott just came back from a skiing holiday, and Johnny Murphy went off during the warm-up, and we had to replace him. And Scott had a phenomenal game at 7. Again, I have to give compliments to Richie White. His boot was just spot on. With Richie, like, this year is really enjoying his rugby, and he's putting the back. Always, like, there has to be someone in the backfield all the time waiting for that kick there, because they know that he's got the big boot. I have to give a compliment to your own fella. Dan at 10 probably had his best game, and Noah Cope at 9. The two of them just clicked at the weekend. So look, we were delighted. We came out with a bonus point that we've never done that before. As I said, it's always a tough trip up. Boyne are missing a couple of players, so but in fairness, they're a team that they're going to cause upset to somebody along the line. We have drawn them in the cup, so we won't be looking forward to a rematch with them. I know it's at home, but I'm sure they'll be looking for a little bit of revenge after that. But look, we were happy with the performance as a whole. As I say, the couple of mistakes were kind of led to we gave away points because of that. If we can cut those mistakes out, like, our penalty count was quite low. Our lineouts were good. The scrum was solid. The backs have been just getting better every week. So we're very happy with the performance overall. Especially when we've to come into this weekend, we have Longford at home. That'll be no easy game. Longford, tough side. We've always, doesn't matter where Longford are positioned in the table, they're always going to give you a serious game, and they're a team you have to watch, because if you don't perform on the day, you can easily give away points to them. And but look, we have them at home at the weekend. We're 1 point behind Athy in the league, and Athy have Kilkenny at the weekend. So we'll be hoping for it. With Blanchard staying there, we'll be hoping for a Kilkenny win at the weekend. So hopefully they can do us a bit of a favour and we get the win. But look, we have to rely on our own. It's up to ourselves. It's not up to any other. You can't be relying on other results anymore. We have to go out and perform at the weekend. Touch wood, we've only one injury. Johnny Murphy's still out with a back injury, but hopefully Johnny will be back for the following game against DLSP. But look, we're happy where we are. Boys are training well, and it's been a good 2 weeks. It's usually after Christmas we have a bit of an upset, and things don't go too well for us. But I'd say it's the first time in a long time that we've come out after Christmas. And Paddy said it earlier, having that Southeast final definitely made a difference at coming back into the league. It's a long break. I don't know how Tullow managed it with 5 weeks. We had just gone 3 weeks. I know we'll have a tough run. We have a long run now, because we have the Southeast final with Boyne, we've Longford this week, we've DLSP the following week, and then we're back in Carlow for the Towns Cup against Boyne. So it's going to be a long couple of weeks, and trying to manage the squad. Keeping injuries down to a minimum, because I think at this stage all teams are going to get injuries. So it really depends on how your squad reacts. But looking forward to this weekend. Hopefully the weather will hold up. I hear there's a storm on the way. Paddy, you might be lucky. You might be lucky on Saturday, but I think we're in for a downpour on Sunday.
Looking like it.
Probably won't suit our game as much as it suit Longford. But look, we'll go out. I said it's up to ourselves now. It's not up to anybody else. We've got to go out and perform. The lads know they have to perform. The youths then last weekend, the 15s had a very good win against Longford, and I was told Dara Carey got a man of the match. 16s had a very good game against Arco. They've a lot of new players coming in, which is good to see. But they're developing into a nice little side. Our 18s had a really, really good win against Kildare. Kildare were top of the table, and the lads went up there on Saturday, and had a really, really solid win against them. It was very unexpected. Some of the I have to give mention now to Keane Cashman, Pádraig Farrell, Joe Carberry, Kyle Broderick, and Oscar Siney, who all had outstanding in games. Actually, speaking of Keane Cashman, Keane came up and played for the seconds on Sunday and had an outstanding game. That's his second outing with the second, coming in off the bench for the seconds, and it's good to see young blood coming up along the line. So I'll do a special shout out to Keane. Paddy went through the Rhinos. I think they were a bit unfortunate. The 14s drew, the 16s were a bit unfortunate. They lost to Gorey, but it's talking to Kira and Michelle, they'll be hungry to get back on the winning ways again, and be looking forward to get a rematch against Gorey later on. I know the girls were missing a couple of players. The 18s, our match was called off at half time. It was 7-5 to Enniscorthy at half time, but we had an injury that thankfully the girl is fine, but we had to wait on an ambulance, and the game was just postponed because it was on a nighttime game, and they had a second pitch. But the 18s, they were playing really, really well at the time. It was a well-matched game between themselves and Enniscorthy. That's nearly it, except for I want to say congratulations to Stephen Smith, who made the Kilkenny College. He's in ex-Kilkenny College player, and Stephen played minis with us up to 13, under 13s, and he's made the Irish under 20 squad. He's a fantastic player. I've watched a couple of games. I haven't got to see when he's come and watched an awful lot of our games over the years as a young fella. I haven't got up to see him play. He's playing with Wesley, but I got to see a couple of games online, and he's having an absolutely storming season with them. So, a big congratulations to Stephen Smith. It's a huge honour for a young man to get up and play for Ireland. So, I wish him the best of luck in the Six Nations competition. And I think that is all from the Carlow point.
Good stuff. So I suppose you mentioned it there, lads, yourselves. The Towns Cup draw was made there just a week or two ago now at this stage, isn't it? And Tom, you were, I suppose, going in alphabetical order up against Boyne. You've already spoken about that there. Portarndon against Enniscorthy, New Ross at home to Rossgrey, Edenderry against Tullamore, Kilkenny at home to Clondalkin, Navan against Dundalk, Portlaoise against Newbridge, Wexford Wanderers against Mullingar, Naas v Skerries and Longford against North Kildare. And of course, Tullow, the reigning champions, have a bye, as does Ashbourne, Athy, Kildare, Gorey and Wicklow. What do you make of the draw, lads?
Well, I'll go first there because Tom has already mentioned it, and given the local interest anyway, I would have Carlow and Kilkenny as strong favourites. I know Boyne are in a higher division than Clondalkin, but I think the home advantage for both Carlow and Kilkenny will give them a good advantage. And I know Tom was probably being a bit cautious there when he spoke about it, but I would fancy Carlow and Kilkenny in that. In the rest of it, then I would fancy Enniscorthy, New Ross, Tullamore, Dundalk, Portlaoise, Mullingar. It's hard to know between Wexford and Mullingar, and I'd probably give it to Wexford given their home advantage. And I'd fancy Naas against Skerries, and I'd fancy Longford against North Kildare. So it'll be the second round will be of more interest to us, and it's on the 28th of February, and we'll be watching on the 4th of February with keen interest. But it'll be Carlow and Kilkenny will be definitely in the drum that day, in my opinion.
Well, I hope so, Paddy. It'll be of all of them. When the draw came through, we went for effect's sake. We're blaming Brendan Carby, our president, for being up there to have that draw come out. Was just brilliant, you know. Boyne, especially after having to go to travel to play them last weekend, and then before we were playing the game, and you were playing them again in the Towns Cup, which is absolutely wonderful. But look, home advantage is a huge thing for any team. We all know that. So look, hopefully we pull out. I'd say the only one, Paddy, I think I agree with them all except the Mullingar Wexford one. I think Mullingar might. I know it's in Wexford, but they might squeeze that. They're walking the league that 2A league at the moment. But then again, I watched Wexford play, Paddy, in the final against New Ross, and they're a fairly handy enough team, you know.
There seem to be enough and coming team, don't they, and strong youths. Yeah,
and I just think they're just unfortunate. The geographical position of the club sometimes works against them. I know it's the sunny southeast and a beautiful place to be, but when it comes to your youths moving on, it's a hard place to retain them, I think, because they're, you know, like we struggle enough, Paddy, you know, between ourselves and kids going playing 20s, whatever, in Dublin. But if a kid has gone to Dublin to play, or going to college in Dublin, the chances of getting back down to Wexford at the week, you know, during the week and for training and stuff, and if they're anywhere decent at all, they kind of get picked up. You know, they had Paul Deeney and those kind of got picked up along the line, and kind of hard for them. But look, they're a good club, and I have to say, compliments to their social media at the moment. Whoever looks after their social media is really, really excellent. And I think they're a club that's working hard to get back, you know, to get back on track. It'd be lovely to actually, like, it'd be nice to see them back up, get it back into 1A at some stage, or 1B at some stage. They're not too far behind. But to see, like, I know I spoke of the Southeast finals, the ones we had, and Paddy, you spoke of your own results in the Southeast. The talent that's there in the Southeast is unreal. You can see them in the Southeast squads. You can see it when you go watch games against against teams in our area. We really are a strong area, and some of the young kids coming through just absolutely lovely to watch. Like those 2-18 games in Carlow last at the two finals, just the standard was unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. It gets better every year.
Absolutely.
Any other tasty ones you can pick up out of that, lads?
No, I'd say the tasty ones are going to come in round 2. That's the problem, because we're all going into a big drum that's going to be spun around. And we're all going to pray we don't get certain clubs. Right,
exactly, yeah, that's it. Yeah, we had Carlow will be as home will have home advantage if they get to the final anyway. So the final in Carlow will give extra impetus to the Southeast teams, I think, to try and be involved in the final. It'll be a great venue for the final when it does come around. But we'll all want to be there. Sean O'Brien certainly has. Sean played out half last week. Again, I should have mentioned that. And apart from missing a couple of kicks for goal, he did an absolute outstanding game at out half. So we won't have him this weekend because he'll be away with Leinster. But I imagine that his main ambition for coming back to play, of course, he wants, like Morris, to be promoted and all of that. But he would dearly love a Towns Cup, a good Towns Cup run in his heydays or his golden days.
Yeah, he's only in his 30s, and you think about it, and we talk about some of these players like they're old fellas. Well,
you see that's why. Well, there's definitely I speak for myself. I definitely don't want either of these three teams to meet in the next round. We're all pally here, but.
A Carlow Tullow final in Carlow would be we'd settle for that, Tom. I'd say, would we? We'd settle for a Carlow Tullow final in Carlow.
Well, I take any of that over meeting in the second round. That's now probably Jesus.
Heard it here, lads.
If we get that pull, if that comes out of the hat, it had nothing to do with me. I didn't even mention it.
Okay.
Replay this clip in a few weeks, Tom.
yeah.
Look, it's a great competition, and hopefully it's as good as last season. The games last season were all phenomenal games, so everyone said it was a superb tournament all the way through. Not just from a Carlow, Kilkenny or Tullow point of view. I mean, all the teams playing. Everyone has said there was a lot of cracking games last season, and so it is a premier. It's the premier tournament.
It brings a buzz every year, regardless of the leagues. It really does.
Yeah, and we need to. It's like when you see what we got out of just the Southeast finals. They're important, and it's so important to keep the towns, to try and to get the Towns Cup back, get crowds bigger, get the venues filled, and because it's not just it's the crack in the club, and you play lads in league, and it's just sort of it's week in, week out, but there's just a buzz in a club when you play a Towns Cup, and the crack afterwards, and
absolutely.
Even if you lose, like I'd say one of our best nights out last season was the night after we lost to Tullow. So when it was all done and dusted and put behind us, we had a cracking night. So those are nights to remember. Whether you win, lose, or draw, and it's an honour to play. And anyone that gets picked on a Towns Cup team, it's an honour, and should take it as an honour. It's not easy to be picked on a Towns Cup team. So
well said, Tom.
Looking forward to
that.
Yeah, looking forward to it myself, lads. Plenty of cracking rugby to come, and I can't believe it's upon us already. Like it's this season is flying. Anyway, for me it is. Anyway, lads, we'll wrap it up there. Hopefully, we'll have James Blanchfield back next week on the podcast, talk about all things Kilkenny. Good luck over the weekend in all your games. Let's hope the weather holds up somewhat favourably for you, Tom, on Sunday.
Just supporters bring the brollies, and we'll be all right.
It'll be grand. Only a couple of inches of the water. It'll be all right.
There'll be no more Astro pitches. I think at this stage we're going to have to look at building a roof over some pitch in the southeast and actually and play.
See what they did up in the Connacht GA, Tom, the big inflatable dome or something. Big grand up there. The
Did you get a grant for that? Because I think the amount of lads applying for grants at this stage is mad. So if there's a grant for that, we'll go for it.
Get Scats to sponsor it, you'll be grand.
That's
no bother. Lads, go well the weekend. Thanks for joining us on the podcast. Good to be back after the Christmas break, I suppose. And go well this weekend. Take it easy.
Well done, Stephen.
Well done, Stephen. Thank you. Thank you.